Hi there. I'm going to ask you to think about a day in your past. I'm going to ask you to think about the day that you received a call that would offer you the position that you currently hold. On that day, a decision was made. And every day, you show up. You balance life the best way that you know how. You take care of your family and your friends, and you're there for your colleagues. This is a big job, and at times it can be really heavy. Whatever you believe, you were meant to be here. This is your purpose. My name is Rita Hernandez, and I'm a licensed professional counselor. I'm the spouse of a law enforcement officer with a family of law enforcement professionals from local, state, federal agencies, civilian, uniformed, and plainclothes. And the work that you do is meaningful to me and to many of those that I love. As a therapist who works with law enforcement professionals, I acknowledge and appreciate the dedication that it takes to do this work. Whether you are in corrections, parole, offender management, facilities reentry, rehabilitation, or crime victim services, to do the work that is high demand and low control for predictability takes true resilience. I'm going to talk to you about 3 things that I have learned in the work that I do and through the connections that I have in law enforcement. First is the impact that your career has on you and your colleagues. Second is how your physical and mental health can be sustained through prevention efforts. And lastly, I'm going to tackle some misconceptions about seeking support through therapy. The impact that you and your career has on your physical and mental health was studied by the University of Buffalo. And what they identified were factors that contribute to physical and mental health issues. These won't be a surprise to you, but the factors that they found are unpredictable schedules, shift work, long hours, being in the public view, exposure to critical incidents, high blood pressure, insomnia, anxiety, depression, obesity, and sometimes even cancer. The high demand and low control of this work requires that you are at peak performance or sort of always on to do this work. You all know all of this already. This study found that this profession often leads to substance abuse, relationship issues, and suicide at greater rates than the general population. We all struggle with feeling overwhelmed from time to time. Those thoughts about something's got to give, or I've had enough, or I've had it up to here. But it's when those thoughts and feelings start to intensify that hopelessness sets in, and those thoughts can become suicidal. Prevention is really critical to reducing the impact of those feelings. Prevention is critical to sustaining your physical and your mental health. When I talk about prevention, I also talk about self-care, and I use those things interchangeably. But when I talk about self-care, many times folks imagine something that is self-indulgent or fancy, right? Prevention and self-care are not indulgences. In fact, they take incredible discipline. And in the field that you are in, you know discipline. You do that already. It's just a matter of recognizing that you're worthy of taking the time for self-care and to consider the self-care as a preventative measure. You're worthy of personal time, whether that's engaging in a hobby or something that you used to enjoy doing, or just doing nothing. You're worthy of taking that personal time. You're worthy of setting boundaries so that your stress, other people's stress, is not going to weigh on you. So that you can set that boundary and let folks take care of their own things, especially those things that they can handle on their own. You're worthy of sleep. And I'm talking real, sound, restful sleep. That's hard to come by in this field. Our thoughts continue to race, and we think about what we shoulda, coulda, and might have done differently earlier in the day. But it's important to hold yourself accountable, set reasonable bedtimes, communicate with your household, solicit that support so that you can get that restful sleep. You're worthy of that. Exercise, and that can be informally, like yard work or housework, or parking a little bit further, taking the stairs instead of an elevator, or it can be formal, like going to a gym, running a 5K. Exercise takes care of your physical health, but it also increases your endorphins, which is your feel-good hormone, and we can all use a little bit of that. Mindfulness, meditation, and prayer. Now, this is just time to just be in solitude, to just rest your brain without necessarily sleeping. I recommend apps like Calm and Headspace to really help folks to find that 3 minutes of quiet time for themselves. You're worthy of that. You're worthy of asking for and receiving help. Receiving and accepting help is only going to give you more to give. It's going to replenish those reserves so that you can keep doing more, keep doing the job that you do without burning out. Now that's hard to do, and it can be scary at times, and part of that reason is because of the misconceptions. What we know is that in law enforcement, we are expected to be physically and mentally ready all the time. You have to be right in your head, and you have to be ready to do this job. And employers or chains of command are going to evaluate you on your readiness and your capability of doing your job. Unfortunately, sometimes that leads to law enforcement professionals not speaking up or faking good and not seeking help. One of the first misconceptions is that if I seek help, if I go to a therapist and I use my insurance or my EAP, that information is going to get back to my employer, and I don't want that to happen. That's false. In fact, licensed mental health professionals are legally and ethically bound to client privacy. I'm not going to share that with anyone. You would have to provide written consent for me to share any information with your employer or anyone you wanted me to share that information with. What you talk about in your counseling sessions is between you and your counselor. Now, there are limits to confidentiality, and that's in place for your safety and the safety of others. Your counselor will go through those things before you even start talking. The second misconception is that those who seek professional help are weak or they can't handle their own stuff. And in the nearly 2 decades of my work in mental health, I have to say that those who seek help are the most courageous people that I have ever met. It truly takes courage to be vulnerable and to trust the process and to improve on your own well-being, because they know that it'll impact or improve relationships. Developing healthy coping strategies, learning how to communicate more effectively with those in your household or with your colleagues or your supervisor. Being able to do that takes bravery. I have a couple of takeaways. If you notice a colleague is struggling, reach out and encourage them to talk to someone. Be there for them. It's as simple as saying, I'm concerned and I'm here for you. If you're struggling, reach out to a friend or a colleague or a therapist. You're worthy of that time. Many therapists will offer free consultations. At Talk Therapy Harbor, we do offer free consultations. You just have to go to the website, talktherapyharbor.com. There's an orange button. You click that, schedule your consultation. You don't even have to tell me your name. We also offer daytime and evening sessions for shift workers. You can have a session at 6 a.m. if you need to. 24/7, there's a national hotline. It is 1-800-273-8255. Or you can text HOME to 741-741 and have access to a counselor 24/7. And always, in an emergency, just dial 911. The work you do is heavy and it's important. More than that, you are worthy. You are needed. Your community needs you. Your family and your loved ones need you. We value each and every one of you, and we hope that you will take care of yourself so that you can continue giving the way that you do. Thank you, and be safe.